Second time, what do you want? Why are you here? He's like, I want you to take your clothes off.
Okay, so we're going to be just discussing various resources in a community and to help some individuals who may be in need. I'm Storm, and you want to say your name again, young lady?
My name is Mikayla. I am also trans, and I'm doing this live stream with Storm to try and raise awareness on sexual assault against the transgender community.
And we have some resources that, I think we need to get out to the general public. I want to thank you for coming on and having this conversation with me. This is very big because, we don't get a chance to open up space to have this kind of dialogue, so thank you. Can you first just tell me a little bit about what you do and what your mission is?
One of the things that I've done specifically on my YouTube channel, I have not been too active due to my own depression, but I've been making a video series about how to, like sexual abuse and assault within the trans community, like how to recognize it. And I plan on making educational videos on the topic because a lot of, like, I'm not saying it's all of us, but some of us are into like a little bit more hardcore behavior in the bedroom, and I feel like among people in that kind of setting, like consent is a big problem because a lot of people don't understand safe words and stuff. And like, for example, my ex, he thought that if I consented to a scene once, that I've consented to all scenes. And so therefore it didn't matter whether or not I asked for it, like he would just go for it. Like that's gonna be, in fact, I think I might make that my next video when I'm able to, to get the process going again, because I do want to continue raising awareness about this kind of stuff. Sexual assault in the community is really, really bad. And I myself have been victimized, and I feel like the best way to try and help the community who is dealing with this kind of stuff is to get that information out there.
I want to thank you because I've been in both situations. I've been traumatized by witnessing assault, and I've been traumatized by being involved in assault. In my younger years, I want to say maybe I was 17 or 18. I probably had no business going out to these nightclubs, but these nightclubs were allowing younger population into their clubs because they wanted to keep the club vibrant and exciting. So I probably was about 17, but I was leaving this particular nightclub in Albany, New York on Central Avenue. And, upon leaving, there was a person outside who just probably shouldn't have been out there at that time. And he was very aggressive in the things that he was saying. And then the aggression became physical to the point where I had to run across the street to this couple. And I was like, oh my God, can I pretend like I'm your friend so I can like walk with you? Because this guy's like following me. And they were like, yeah, no problem. And the guy was like, yeah, come across the street. Come on, let's go across the street. And I'm like, oh my God, he's following me. And I literally live on Martin Avenue. And they were like, oh, just walk with us. And then the guy kept following us. And it made the one guy so mad that he was like, yo, get out of here. What are you doing? Just go. And he like ran. And then I remember getting to like a certain part. And I was just like, all right, I think I'm okay. And just being forever grateful for that. And I've never really had a space to share that or even discuss what kind of resources are out there because it's considered so taboo or not talked about. And then I also think a lot of trans women, we kind of are just so used to keeping our mouths closed and just not even talking about it. This is like the first time that I've ever really shared that with anyone.
In my case, I just found out that my first ever assault was actually not back when I was 24, but actually when I was 2 years old. I'm not too far along in the processing, so I don't even know how I would even talk about that, but that has, but it wasn't just one person doing it, 2 people, they were taking turns. And when you're a toddler, you don't know how to say no or stop, so all you're doing is, when you're begging the person to stop, you're moaning and squealing and squirming, and they thought that was funny, and that's not okay. And from that point on, I don't recall going through any further abuse of that nature. But I remember my next one occurred when I was 24, when I turned 24. So it was 22 years later. I'm not sure why I did what I did, but I had gotten out of work that day, and this guy was following me up on Congress Street. Now at the time yeah, this was right around the corner from my house. I was fresh on hormones. I had just started hormones the month before. And I subsequently, that is, or I don't know if that's the proper phrase, but at the same time, like, that is also around the time when I finally came out. So I have only been living openly and proudly as a woman for about maybe a month or 2. I didn't know the game. I didn't know that when somebody is following you, like, they want one thing and they want one thing only, and it's not to your benefit.
How did
So
you handle that? Were you able to get resources then? Were you able to get help? Did you have anybody that you could talk to?
I kept quiet for about a month. I remember when it happened, because the first time, like, it started out unnerving and terrifying, but I kind of gave in and kind of liked the experience, quote unquote. But then the following week, I was experiencing anger because the same man had left my house and swiped $150 from my rent money. And I did not want him back, and he came back, and a week later, and he went into my then bedroom, which is the one next door, the one I've been filming my videos in. I'm probably going to do it in this one now that I got my computer up and running. And I said, "What do you want?" Because both times he came in, by the way, he locked the door behind him. So this fucker knew what he was doing. And once I asked him the second time, "What do you want? Why are you here?" He's like, "I want you to take your clothes off." And I'm like, "That's not happening. I have an appointment I have work in the morning, please leave." And I don't know what the hell got into me with this next part, but he said, "Well, can I at least get a kiss?" And I said, "If it gets you the fuck out of my house, then fine. Then fine, I'll give you that stupid kiss, but get out of my house." And so I kissed him, and he did what he did, and that I immediately snapped out of the freeze response to the best of my ability, and I said, "No, you need to go. We're done. Please get out." And by the time he left, after he left, I went upstairs and I told my mom what happened, and she revealed to me that she did not want to believe me. She did not want to believe me because it meant she failed as a mother. But over time of processing and accepting that it wasn't her fault, she finally grew to accepting that I had been assaulted. And it wasn't until about a month later when I reported it to the police. Hang on a minute, my computer just, anyway, so it wasn't until that, until I went to the hospital for the that following month, where I eventually went up to inpatient psychiatric care, where I had mentioned what had happened to me and I reported it to the police. So I had that degree after I told my mom about it. I had that degree of silence for about a month.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That usually happens, especially, you know, we don't get a lot of resources out there to help us navigate when we have these kind of incidences. And that's why I'm very thankful that you did a lot of the research and discussing some of these various resources for the community to look into in the event that they either in that environment or no longer in that abusive environment.
Right.
I've never knew that there was a national sexual assault hotline, and it's called R.A.I.N.N.
Yeah, R.A.I.N.N stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and that is the nation's largest anti-sexual assault hotline, and that is basically the number you want to dial.
And they're LGBT friendly.
They were there when long after my transition, because I had first contacted them when I was dating my ex who was sexually abusing me. He had just forced himself onto me about a week or two later. It was driving me nuts, and I asked them, hey, am I justified in feeling like maybe I have been assaulted? And they said yes. And they did say that it was sexual assault, because originally I wanted to ask them, hey, is this an abusive relationship? And I did, and they said yes. And I explained to them up front that I was a transgender female, so they knew right away I was trans. So they were very calm, or they were very respectful of me, and I am grateful for them helping me.
That's wonderful. And then we have another hotline number, the National Human Trafficking Hotline number, which is listed here in the.
Yeah, that's another big one, because human trafficking plagues the community like rats during the 13th century. It's really bad. With a lot of us doing sex work, some of us, a lot of us are not doing it voluntarily. A lot of us are forced. Like, for example, with me, I voluntarily started making videos, adult content kind of videos, intended to try to play by this male-dominated society's rules, where to try and make some money to be able to pay for my bottom surgery. Unfortunately, my ex took advantage of that a couple of times, and first time he forced me to let him film him touching me in a video that he would send to somebody on a dating app. And then another one, he basically forced me to have sex with him in a video for OnlyFans. Neither was physical force, it was coercion. So emotional force is what I would call that.
Can you explain what that meant? Because I'm an older woman, so I don't know what coercion means and what emotional. I need a little bit more. Sorry.
So what coercion is, I'll give you an example. I'll basically say what was going on between me and Zach the first time. He said to me, hey, Mikayla, there's this person on Grindr who is looking for a video of me touching you, and I would like to do that. And I told him, no, babe, I would like to sleep because I'm getting tired, and I want to wake up in the morning, and I'm not feeling too good. And he said, well, this guy said he's going to give us $50. And I'm like, I know, but I'd like to sleep. And he kept pushing the issue. And then finally he said, well, I'm just trying to do this to help you make money for your bottom surgery. So right there, not taking no for an answer, and exploiting one of your deepest desires to get sexual favors from you is a form of coercion, basically, where there's also like fear, which is what I think a lot of people think of when they say coercion. For example, oh, I'm holding a knife to your throat, and if you want to live, you're going to do these sexual favors for me. Like that is, I would personally call that more physical force because a weapon is involved, not coercion. Even though it's using fear, it's still physical because there's a weapon involved. But fear is another tactic of coercion. Like I'm going to kill you if you don't do these favors for me. So using fear, but no weapons are used. Like that would be not necessarily physical force, but more coercion. So like
I'm thankful to know more about that, because I've
yeah.
never with that man, or I never really understood that. And I want to thank you for sharing some of your experiences. I'm so proud of you to open up to me and share this to me, because this happens a lot in the community and it doesn't get talked about. And you know, I'm an older person and I come from a different generation. So as I was saying,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
As I was saying before, I come from like a hard knock kind of lifestyle upbringing. And as they would say, it came with the territory or whatever. So people would be vulgar and violent. And, you know, a lot of us had to survive, and we did survive. And, you know, we didn't have a lot of the protections or these resources. So I'm learning along with you, because we had to work and move on. And I'm very thankful that I was able to survive and do that. So this is a learning experience for me. So I'm incredibly thankful, because I get to know on a deeper level some of the situations that I did experience to a degree. And as I said before, I was traumatized as a victim, and I was traumatized as a bystander. I witnessed someone be assaulted with sexual language, and in calling the police, the response was negative.
Yeah.
And that forever traumatized me. And this young Dominican woman, trans woman, she had to experience this nightmare from who you would think is there to protect you. And now this person, I feel, has permanent damage. So this is a powerful message, and I want to thank you for opening up and sharing to me so much, because this is important. Thank you. Now, if you are a young trans woman and you get assaulted, what do you think the first step should be?
So young as in like, for example, like a minor, right?
No, I just say young as that's just a metaphoric speech.
Okay.
But a trans woman, I say young woman because, you know, I often like to talk to the young people out there as well. But, you know, 20, 21 up, you know.
Okay.
18.
So for young, like 18 and over, I would say call. Hang on just 1 second, because I do have a number to call. So if you live in the Capital District area, particularly Schenectady, you can definitely get a hold of. You can definitely call a victim advocate by the name of Jolynn Bax, with her cell phone being 518-728-3763, and the hotline number 518-346-2786. 2266. So definitely reach out to her if if you need to talk to her. File a police report. Try to get an exam done to be able to collect evidence if you're able to, but sometimes it may be too painful to go back through it. I remember I had to get a rape kit done the day I broke up with my ex. He had raped me that day, and that day was the final day he would do it. I, of course, did not intend it on being that final day because I had been so broken down by all the emotional and physical abuse that I was just I vowed to never break up with him, no matter how bad he was beating, no matter how much he choked me, no matter how many times he's raped me, no matter how many times he said something to me that made me feel like I was less. No matter all the gaslighting, I said I was never going to break up with him. But I told that day that he did that to me, I went outside and to catch a bus to go somewhere, and I had just met up with a friend, and she said to call the police. So I called the police, we got a rape kit done, and it was very, very painful, and I was afraid of, because when you go to the hospital, if you haven't had your name changed, they're going to dead name you, and they're going to refer to you, like, unless you specify beforehand that you are, you are who you are and not what your ID says. They are going to end up dead naming you if you don't do that. So I went in there. I'm sorry, you're muted.
Dagnating
Dead
you what?
name. Dead name is basically
dead name.
Yeah. As in use your old identity, your old names and pronouns and things like that. So if you don't tell them beforehand and you don't have the legal information change, they are going to dead name you, because this world's got a long way to go before trans people are ever considered in healthcare.
Now, I've asked you prior, besides the phone information, do you have outlets or resources?
Yes.
Because I was privileged to meet you at a resource. We were at a place where you can get resources, and I do a lot of outreach, and I was with someone, a young woman, and she invited me to go to this particular outreach with her. And it was nice. I enjoyed myself, and I got to meet you there. And do you have outlets that you can go to?
Yes. So as I live in Schenectady, most of my resources locally are in Schenectady. So but if you live in Albany, you can still travel to Schenectady to get there, but you can also do Zoom meetings, because they're doing both in person and through Zoom. I don't know when, but they're going to start in person soon. It's the YWCA. They have a women's group, and they are trans friendly. Yes, it's a domestic violence group. Lots of women go there to discuss what's going on between them and their abusive partners. I actually attended a few groups myself. They do not care that you're trans. As far as they're concerned, you're a woman. And that is what I think the community needs. Trans men in men's only support groups could benefit from, oh, I don't see you as trans, I just see you as a man, and you're welcome in this men's group. Because that is basically the epitome of gender affirming care for the trans community, is to not pay so much attention to us being trans, but to focus on how we would like to be referred to and to be treated by, so definitely when it comes to these support groups, like the YWCA is very trans friendly. The Bethesda house is also trans friendly. I am very iffy about anything done through Ellis because when I went to pros back in 2019, this was just after Genda has been passed. I had signed up to go to their women's group because a lot of the trauma at the time that I had been through, I did not feel comfortable discussing around men. It's just how I felt at the time, how I felt like I could protect myself. And they told me, oh, well, there's a lot of women here who are women since birth and you may not be comfortable because they're talking about, like, first of all, if it's because I'm uncomfortable, like, bitch, I'm a woman. Like, what am I going to be uncomfortable over? Just let me in. Stop treating me like I'm different. I'm not different. Like, you're treating me basically differently because of my biology, and that's disgusting. And they stood their ground, and I was debating whether or not I wanted to tell them, okay, well, you have two choices. You can either let me into that women's group and stop protesting, or I will walk out, head straight to my lawyer's office, and sue you guys in violation of Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act. But at the time, I was already new to this, and I was passive, and so I'm like, you know what, this, and so I left, and I never went back because I felt like I didn't have access to the resources I do now, so I felt like I was alone.
I didn't know that Ellis had a pros program. What is the pros program?
Pros is basically, if you've ever been to school, which everybody has, everybody has been to school unless you've homeschooled, in which case, well, then you don't know what the public school setting is like. However, it's kind of like a public school setting. You have a cafeteria, you have classrooms. The only difference between that and a school setting is instead of learning your multiplication tables and the proper formula to measure, with measuring, I don't know, glucose with aspartame or something like in science class, like you're learning things like coping skills and other things, and you're learning about
that's nice.
So it's basically a school setting, but like an outpatient mental health treatment center. And with facing transphobic discrimination, they didn't quite live up to their reputation.
Wow. Best things. Well, I brought it up because we have a center in the capital region called the Pride Center. And this center has a lot of different opportunities. We'll have to find out more with COVID, what they have going on, but they have a lot of opportunities there, resources and information. And I am so thankful that you shared light on this particular topic, because there's a lot that needs to get out there. What I would like to do is have another sit down conversation with you and just have a little more dialogue on some of your experiences and how maybe you could possibly be an ambassador on this topic, because so many people are feeling like they need to give up and they have no hope and they have no one to talk to and they feel like no one's ever gone through it this before. So the fact that you and I were both able to share our experience will possibly encourage and empower other people, because this is something that needs to be talked about. So I want to thank you so much. Are there any resources that we missed that we can maybe get out there?
Yes. When I mentioned, wait a minute. Hang on a minute. I'm trying to think about it. In Our Own Voices is another one, and and just like Storm said, the Capital Pride Center in Albany is a very good one. I'm going there. I'm seeing a therapist by the name of Jen, and she is fantastic. She
At
is
Capital
very,
Pride.
yes, in Albany.
Oh wow, no
Um,
way.
yeah, she is a lot better than my previous therapist. In fact, my previous therapist, I myself have ADHD. It's probably shown here a couple times where I'm speaking on one subject and then I kind of delve into another unrelated one. But then I try to keep on topic. She was not helpful with that. She would just take what I'm saying and then go into like a whole political discourse, and it's like, no thanks, please. And she would also be very condescending regarding my trauma. The first time, or at least what I thought was the first experience with assault, I told her about it. She said, "Well, why did you bring that guy home? Why didn't you kick him to the curb when things seemed to get a little stressful? Why didn't you fight back? You know, things like that." And when you're dealing with the trauma of just being sexually assaulted, that is not something you want to hear. So eventually over time, I grew more and more contempt feelings for her and just wanted to just cut her off completely. Like, no, you're not doing my job or what I need from you. Go fuck yourself. In fact, excuse my, I don't know if that's,
Okay, no, it's
sorry.
fine. Gotta get out of
um,
your chest.
but over time, I expressed a desire to change therapists, and when I spoke to the lady at the front desk, they said, "Oh, you need to talk to her." And it's like, well, I'm sorry, but if my therapist is basically minimizing my trauma and blaming me for my trauma, that's a form of abuse. If there's an abuse pattern like that, do you really want to say, "Hey, abuser, I would like to go to somebody who's not abusive"? Like, are you really going to tell that person who's treating you like shit that you're going to switch? Like, no, that's a power dynamic there. That is not acceptable. They have no reason to say, "Okay, yeah, I'll switch," because that takes out of their pay. That's one less client.
This is one of the
So,
reasons why I want to collect certain resources,
yeah.
and I want to get together with other um, organizations
Mm-hmm.
or departments, and I want to do things like a volleyball cookout, and we got to get the community together more, where there's more unity, more visibility. And I think with that, you can start creating um, job opportunities and just getting more integrated in society so these incidents don't happen and occur. We have to get the general public to understand whatever the new waves are, and just get more integrated, because some of these things that happen are horrific, and they're very traumatizing, and we have to get more resources out there and get the help out there. I'm so thankful for you
Absolutely.
to share that with me and to tell me about that, because girl, no one else is out here opening up. You're one of the pioneers. You're one of the first. You're like a pioneer, actually. You are a pioneer by paving the way to let people know, hey, this is not going to be accepted and this is not going to be tolerated.
Exactly. And often times I feel like, and this isn't in any way reflective of reality, but it is reflective of my feelings, like how I feel living as a transgender bisexual woman in a cis-normative, heteronormative society. Although I would call it more cis hetero supremacist than normative, because that implies that it's normal. It's not. This is it's just widely accepted. Big difference. um, Basically, like I feel like whenever for example, when I was at Bonds up in Amsterdam with me, my girlfriend, and our friend, anytime a group of men walked by, I would bow my head like they were going to hit me, and I would cross my arms as if, you know, trying to be as unintimidating as possible. And I would step aside and wait for them to walk by before walking past them passively. And it's a lot of times I feel like my own womanhood is based on whether or not I'm willing to blow some dudes behind a dumpster. Like, that's literally how it feels a lot of times.
We're gonna get that feeling out of the door, because we're gonna be having a lot of opportunities this summer, especially if we are able to collaborate with some of these other organizations. And I definitely want to get you plugged in. We are definitely going to do a part 2. We're going to have a more sit-down interview with you. I would like to actually meet in person. So we're definitely going to look forward to that. I want to clap my hands to you because I too thought that I was alone. And I'm a decade or probably plus older than you. So to see that things kind of like recycle, you know, it's really sad, and we definitely need to get some resources together. I want to continue this conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming on board and talking with me. Where can people find you on YouTube? What is your YouTube?
My YouTube is actually KiKi Magnifique. I am not sure if it's going to be easy to find, but my face will be the thumbnail, and this same shirt will be in the thumbnail too. So if it shows up, it shouldn't be too hard to find.
We'll put it in the credits so people can find it.
Okay.
And we'll talk again. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll talk to you then.